When the administration is trying to dig us out of a deep hole, it's difficult for them to take your personal finances into account. You have to do that. I choose to diversify my savings with gold from Birch Gold Group, and you can too. Just text the word Dinesh to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no obligation information kit on gold. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers. You too can diversify with Birch Gold. Text Dinesh to 989898. Coming up, Debbie and I are going to do our Friday roundup. We're going to talk about Prime Minister Netanyahu's plans to establish full Israeli control over Gaza, what we call the one-state solution. We're also going to talk about how Trump became America's most influential president in perhaps a century, how halal food came to Texas public schools, the Iraqi couple that beat the rap on an attempted honor killing. This was in Washington State. What to do about those runaway Texas Democrats, and what Bill Clinton might say about his role in the Epstein files. Hey, if you're watching on X or Rumble or YouTube, listening on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe, the follow, the notifications button. That would be great. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
America needs this voice. The times are crazy. In a time of confusion, division, and lies, we need a brave voice of reason, understanding, and truth. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
Debbie and I thought we would get started with our Friday roundup with a big development in the Middle East, which is to say that the Netanyahu administration is evidently putting a plan forward for a complete Israeli control of Gaza. And I think what that means is that they're giving up on this two-state idea. And they are going for the one-state solution. And the one state is, you could call it Greater Israel. It is that all the land that Israel took in the '67 war, which was the West Bank and Gaza. Now, they did give back the part of the Sinai because they made a deal with Egypt. So Egypt got some of its land back. And but the West Bank and Gaza, I think Israel is saying not only are we keeping it, but their old compromise, which was we're going to let the Palestinian Authority rule in the West Bank, which is, of course, Judea and Samaria. We were there not so long ago this year. And then Gaza, where we also were filming for the movie, Gaza was essentially conceded to Hamas because Hamas won that election around 2006 or 2008. And so the Israelis were like, we'll pull out of Gaza. You run Gaza, but no more. What do you think of that?
Listen, I've been watching those videos again because we've been pulling out some videos for the movie. And every time I do that, I am reminded at the monsters that live there. And, you know, unfortunately, some of the videos that I saw, you can't tell Hamas from the Palestinian citizens. I mean, it's like they're one and the same.
The movie brings us out, I think, beautifully, and so people will see it for themselves. But I think what you're describing, we need to spell out what you're talking about here, because right after October 7th, the terrorists grabbed people from Israel. And what do? They took him right back to Gaza. And they made videos over there of parading these people through the streets. Now, who's in the streets? Civilians.
That's right, civilians.
And you can get the civilian reaction to October 7th. And it's very clear that the civilians are
on
ecstatic.
Board. They were on board.
Right? It's like, it is a celebration. It is an explosion of joy. It is Allahu Akbar. And people will be able to see all this for themselves. But you were saying that the implication of that is that in some ways, Israel is right to feel unsafe, not just about the organization Hamas, but about all those people over there and their support for Hamas.
Absolutely, because some of these videos included some people, some Israelis being stomped on so severely. I saw a video of this. I don't know if he was an IDF soldier or if he was just a civilian. He was from Israel, and there were kids, teenagers, stomping on him to the point that he was almost decapitated. I know that's very graphic, but let me tell you, these videos that's all they are. They're graphic.
Well, we want to make the point that and I can understand in some ways there's an undercurrent on social media of anti-Israel sentiment, and many of these people seem to think that October 7th was blown out of proportion by Israel. Now, in some ways, I have to somewhat fault, I don't know if it's the Israeli government, but I have to fault the fact that the kind of material we're talking about has not been seen. Almost no one has seen it, even though you have been getting these videos from Telegram channels. By the way, many of these videos made by Hamas itself. Some made by the idea.
Most of them are made by Hamas.
Most made by Hamas.
Most of them.
And what we have done, which I think is the effect is going to be very electric, is we have brought them together in a riveting opening narrative where people can, just as in 2000 Mules, to some degree, we were able to put you there at the scene of the election. This is even more vivid. We just put you there, and you can see it for yourself.
Well, the Israel did a video that they showed mainly reporters, journalists.
Right, they did.
It was a compilation of all the videos for maybe an hour and a half full of them, right?
Yeah.
However, they were very adamant about not showing them to other people, just the journalists.
Right, and to be honest, a lot of these journalists are very jaded. They are very ideological. Their attitude is, I don't want to see it. And so you're showing it to an audience that's going to do nothing for you. You're trying to convert people or win them over, but that assumes that they are well-meaning, that they are moved by basic humanity, that they're going to look at this stuff and go, wow. But no, I think they look at this stuff and they just go, Israeli propaganda, especially if it's coming from the government.
Yeah, right. And this wasn't coming from the government. So hopefully it will open some eyes. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think that them going in there and because Israel is run so well. I mean, it's like a well-oiled machine.
It is. They have shown that they can run a society that has Muslims in it. As we know, there are Muslims who live in Jerusalem. There are Muslims who live all over Israel. There are Muslims who serve in the parliament, in the government. The West Bank has been, I won't say it has been serene or quiet, because we know people in the West Bank or in that area of Judea and Samaria. They talk about the fact that in the past they have had rocks thrown at their vehicles. So we're not implying that
when we went there, we went in a armored vehicle, basically. It was a SUV, bulletproof SUV with an armed guard.
I know what's funny. The thing I remember most vividly is I thought, armored vehicle, no big deal, and so on. And then I was trying to get out, and I realized I could not open the door.
Oh, yeah.
It weighed like 700
Very
pounds,
heavy.
right?
Yeah.
And so they had to come around and, in a sense, open the door for me.
Yeah.
And but you're right. We had to be under conditions of security.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about a guy with a small revolver or pistol. This guy had a massive...
Probably an AR-15, something like that.
Yeah, and I think he was telling us that he had rigged it himself, right? In other words, he had set it up himself to be particularly lethal. No, I think it not only is going to work. Now, by work, what we mean is it is always a pain to govern by force a bitter and unwilling population. Look, the Romans did it, and the way they did it is they had to use extreme force. So the Mongols did it. They controlled a huge empire. I remember reading recently a very vivid image for me. It said that in the 13th century, a young girl could wear gold necklaces around her neck and walk the entire distance of the Mongol Empire untouched. Why? Because the Mongols were complete savages. If anybody touched the girl, they would come to that area and kill everybody within 100 miles. And so it's like the message got out. Don't mess with the Mongols. So the point is, I think that if you employ a sufficient degree of ruthlessness, you can do it. Mm-hmm. Now, it could be, and I think this is where Trump's psychology is, give these people another way out. Mm-hmm. Give people an option. It's kind of like saying, this is our society. We're going to rule it. Frankly, if you'd rather go someplace else, we're going to help you to do that. So this is sort of like self-deportation, but it's not really that, of course. What I'm getting at is, look, if these guys can go to Jordan, they can go to Egypt, if they can, I mean, it would not be too expensive to provide them with a passage, an apartment, employ them, start a peaceful, decent life in a, because look, one of the things Abraham Lincoln said to the blacks, this was right before the Civil War, is he goes, listen, he goes, you're living in a white man's country. He goes, you keep asking me to do this and that. You want to get rid of all people's prejudices against you. And Lincoln goes, I don't have the power to do that, even if I would. I'm not able to do that. If he wanted to. Right? Yeah. So he said, I totally get where you're coming from. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And Lincoln goes, you might be happier in a country of your own. Right? And so to the degree that you've got these Palestinians, they have a Palestinian identity. And they want to run their own lives. And in a sense, you can't blame them. But I think Israel is right to say, you can do it, but not here. Mm-hmm. And this is land that is ours. Mm-hmm. Not only is it our ancestral land, but we also won it fair and square in the 67 war, and we're not giving it back. Conquest
and heritage and history, right?
Every argument for how a country has gotten land, Israel qualifies by that standard. So let's look at historically, right? If you look at the boundaries of the world, how did countries become that way? One way, the most common way, is conquest. The second most common way is by some negotiated settlement, where you draw a line, and let's say India and Pakistan agree this is going to be our border. So the negotiated settlement is the second. And the third one is, you were there first. You are the original or aboriginal inhabitants. You are the indigenous people of the region. So when you look at Israel, who are the indigenous people? The Jews. Mm-hmm. Number two, who got Israel in a negotiated settlement in 1948 through the UN and all the international agencies with the support of the British and the United States? Israel checks that box. And finally, who got the land in kind of a fair fight, so to speak, in which the Israelis didn't even start it. Mm-hmm. They were attacked. Mm-hmm. And so by every plausible criterion, Israel has a right to say, I think, this is our land. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think that is the dispute, right? This is why people like the Squad, why they're so adamant about Israel being occupiers, which they're not. But the propaganda, of course, is that they are. And so that is why people look at Israel and say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And so I think it's really important to settle that argument.
I will say I'm excited about the film. It's called The Dragon's Prophecy, and I'm very excited about it because it brings such a startlingly deep and fresh perspective. It introduces answers even where people don't even know what the question is. Mm-hmm. Because this is an area, I have to say, going back to the Reagan era and even before that, it is a part of the world where nothing gets resolved. Mm-hmm. Right? I remember Nixon making trips to the Middle East, and there's Kissinger, and they're trying to work it out. And then, of course, Carter does the peace initiative with Sadat. And then later Clinton, and then Obama. Everyone has sort of tried their hand at it and kind of gotten nowhere. Mm-hmm. and it remains unresolved to this day.
He's anti-Semite, Obama.
Well,
So
Obama was not trying to resolve it. Obama was trying to alter the balance of power against us, and to some degree he succeeded. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see. Netanyahu is following through. I think he had a very clear idea. These are my war aims coming out of October 7th. I want to make sure that this kind of thing can't happen again. I want to make sure that the people who did it are suitably punished. And I'm going to redraw the map if I have to achieve these goals. And that this plan is a part of that. You know, when I flip a container around and can't pronounce it or recognize the ingredients, I just put it back. But you're not going to find that happen with these. This is balance of nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. You're going to find these on a shelf in my home. Every single ingredient is a fruit or veggie plucked from the soil. No binders, no additives, no artificial colors, no fillers, just whole fruits and veggies, gluten-free and vegan-friendly. These harvested ingredients are freeze-dried into a fine powder using an advanced vacuum cold process to better preserve nutritional value. I can say with absolute confidence, I'm getting 31 ingredients from fruits and veggies every single day with balance of nature. Imagine a platter with 31 different fruits and veggies on it every day. Join me in taking balance of nature. Use my discount code AMERICA. You get 35% off plus free shipping and a money-back guarantee. Call 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751, or go to balanceofnature.com. When you use discount code AMERICA, you get 35% off plus free shipping. Mike Lindell tells me a major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving my pillow with an overstock of classic pillows. But hey, their loss is your gain. For a limited time, my pillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. Get a standard My Pillow for just $19.98. Want more? Upgrade to a queen size for just $24.98 or king size for $29.98. Snag body pillows for $39.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $12.98. By the way, if you spend $75 or more, you get $100 in free digital gifts. No strings attached. That's right, premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it off. So don't wait. Head to mypillow.com, or you can call 800-876-0227. 800-876-0227. That's the number. Don't forget to use promo code Dinesh to grab your standard My Pillow for only $19.98 while supplies last. Let's turn to America and talk about Trump. We have a couple things to say about Trump, but the first one has to do with his overall effectiveness. And I think that although the left they started out with this theme of, stop telling us how old Biden is. Trump is very old, and Trump is not all there. I think they're now realizing he is very much there. And not only is he very much there, he's like one of these giants whose giant stompings and footsteps are all over the different institutions of our society. Academia stomp, the media stomp, the banks stomp. There's a campaign, I think, that is driving Trump. And the left keeps saying retribution. And I myself never shirk from that word because I think almost always when people say retribution, what they mean is just desserts.
Payback.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting what you deserve.
Yeah.
It's karma time. It's a time to settle accounts. It's a time for accountability.
Well, Trump runs the country like he would run a company. And I think people just aren't used to that. They're used to government. They're used to slow, ineffective, kicking the can down the road. And that's just not him.
This is a very insightful point. I think it's that a lot of times people think that being in politics is submitting to a process. And so if you're a congressman, you show up, here's your office, sir, this is what you do, it's time for a vote, you go cast your vote. You dutifully fit yourself into some system, right? I think what you're saying is Trump comes marching in, and he says things like, well, why does that have to be that way? Right? There's a lot of crime in DC, and the normal politician would be like, well, I better call up the mayor. Trump's point is, how about we take over DC, right? The banks, Trump is like, you know what? I'm going to get on the phone with each of these CEOs of the banks, and I'm not just going to give them a tongue lashing. I'm going to tell them that I'm going to bring the regulators down on their heads, because Trump goes, he was interviewed, they said, are you threatening these banks with regulators? And Trump goes, listen, these bankers are only scared of two things, the regulators and their wives. He goes, they might be a little more scared of their wives, but he goes, but they are scared of the regulators. Wow. And Trump is like, I'm not hesitating to use that.
Right.
I think what Trump has realized is that what the Democrats do in the media is they have rigged all the processes to their benefit. And so if you submit yourself to process, you're surrendering to them. You're allowing them to set the terms and the parameters. And so Trump is like, essentially, to heck with the process. I don't care about the process. I care about a substantively just outcome. And that's what I'm going to go for. Mm-hmm. And he's shown that if you are sufficiently pig-headed about it, and you go about this with determination, and you have people, this is what impresses me, is that he's got a cabinet and he's got people working for him who are not just sycophants, they are committed to his agenda, and they will push it, and they are pushing it. So that's impressive to see. But you are the one who alerted me to this action on the debanking.
Yeah, because I heard Eric Trump talking about it, and he said that Melania and other members of their family, Melania, for example, was deplatformed from the bank because she was actually trying to set up an account, because she gives money to I don't know if it's colleges or places for these kids that are what is that? I lost my
Melania,
not adopted, but she's
trafficked or
no. Gosh, what, I can't even think of the word.
What kind of kids? Anyway, it doesn't matter. She's giving money to a charitable cause. What happens? A charitable
cause, and so they deplatformed her, and she was like, "Okay, well, the kids are the ones that are gonna miss out. I'm fine, but it's them that are being affected."
Trump has said that he had an account. I guess it was with J.P. Morgan Chase. They debank him, right? They say they cancel his account. And Trump emphasizes, he goes, listen, it's not because I wasn't like keeping my balance high enough. He goes, I was trying to, he says, then I said, okay, I'll take my money out. It was $1 billion. And he goes to Bank of America. And he goes, I go to the guy who's running Bank of America, who he says was kissing my butt in the first term. And he says, I want to open an account with $1 billion. And the guy goes, can't help you. Can't do it. No can do. Now, in fairness, I should say, because we're giving the impression that all these bank guys are police state apparatchiks, but the truth of it is they are being manipulated by the Biden regulatory regime. So the Biden people come in and they strong arm the banks. One thing to realize is banks are really not private. We think of banks as private institutions. They're not. They are completely under the thumb of the government.
So is this going to be the case where when we have a Democrat in the White House, the banks will do it again, and back and forth and back and forth? Is that what we're going to come to expect from America? I mean,
I don't necessarily think so. But here's what I think. I think that what happened was the banks are used to full obedience and full compliance. They had never gotten this kind of a request before. By the way, as you know, I'm part of the story a little bit myself. And I've mentioned before, but we haven't mentioned the full extent of it, because after my case with the Obama administration, not only did Chase close my account, but later I decided to apply for a credit card. Now, it wasn't a Chase card.
Yeah, it was Chase. It was actually a United Chase card.
Oh, there you go. It was a United card using Chase Bank, and they approved me because my credit's good. But then I think the moment that
they not only did they approve you, they sent you a card.
They send me a
And
card.
you had the card for like, I don't know, a couple weeks.
And then they canceled
and then
me,
you got a
which
letter.
means that I'm still in their like no banking zone. Now, the other thing you mentioned, which is true, and we haven't mentioned it really, is American Express. Because I have been I got my first American Express card in my 20s when I got my first job. So I've been 35 years with American Express. And, you know, our American Express bill annually is rather large. So we used to have a very big credit limit with American Express with the Platinum card. And suddenly my credit limit plummeted to a much more modest number where it has remained. And even though I protested about a year ago or so, you're like, call them up, see if you can talk some sense into them. But no, they would not budge. And so I think, again, I don't think this is like American Express, you know, making some kind of decision. Let's deplatform that guy. No, I think even American Express, all of these people were under police state scrutiny by the Biden regime. And so they wanted to be on their best behavior. It's almost like they were taking preemptive action.
But what, you know, the thing is what do they care? I mean, we pay our bills on time.
No, that's not the point, honey. The point is that for them to function as a bank, if the government were to pull their banking privileges, they would go under, right? So it's not that they care about our account. You know, it's like why Costco canceled my America book going back to 2014. It's not that they don't make money on my books, but they were like, whatever money we make on Dinesh's book pales to ticking off Obama and Eric Holder. That's far more important to us than even having a bestseller. We were perfectly happy to sacrifice that. Remember, the head of Costco at that time would go to the Lincoln bedroom. He was a big Obama worshiper. I'm sure he wants to jump up and down in the Lincoln, you know, on the bed. That was more important to him. So, but the debanking, I think that if Trump is sufficiently, and I use these words deliberately, savage in hammering these people down, maybe fining them, making them pay a penalty for this debanking, they will learn a lesson. And the next time they'll push back.
So back to Melania, foster care. She's very much into the foster care system. And so these are foster children. So she said the foster children are the ones that are going to suffer from this.
Let's talk about Trump and his cultural meanderings, because the one thing you can count on Trump is he's going to make a comment about the ratings of a new reality show. The latest was he's weighing in on Sydney Sweeney and egging her on and egging on American Eagle. And but you were telling me that you were looking at some profit numbers.
Yeah, it looks like American Eagle really made a lot of money from this ad.
Yeah. And Trump said something in his post that I didn't know. He was contrasting American Eagle with Jaguar. And he goes, and I had seen that Jaguar, that this ad that they were doing with all these like weird persons of color space zombies was a complete dud. And in fact, Jaguar sales plummeted. But Trump went on to say that the guy who was in charge of Jaguar had been given the boot, which I didn't know.
Well, maybe,
but Trump keeps track of this kind of stuff.
Maybe they can design some better looking cars while they're at it.
You know, that too, as you know, well, I mean, I told you that was one of my first cars was the British Racing Green. I mean, it was after my first book that was a big bestseller, Illiberal Education. I mean, before that, I could hardly afford a Jaguar. But this was like my splurge when that book hit the bestseller list. I had, and the Jaguars in those days were just beautiful cars. And I just adored that car. And then I just noticed years and years later that something happened with the look of the Jaguar, and they decided the uglification of our culture extended to the Jaguar.
Yeah.
They just lost it.
Yeah.
And they've never got it back.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll get on board. And
so what you're saying is they don't just need a better ad campaign.
Oh,
they actually
need better looking
they need
cars.
to go back to the classic look of the
Make Jaguar great again.
Make Jaguar great again. Exactly. Is the continued divide between Trump and the Federal Reserve putting us behind the curve again? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time, or are we going to be looking at a potential economic slump or slowdown? And what does that mean for your savings? Debbie and I diversify with gold through Birch Gold Group. We do it for peace of mind, knowing that if the bottom falls out, we have something tangible that we can hold on to. And Birch Gold makes it easy for you to diversify into gold too. If you have an IRA or old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold to keep at home in your safe. But first, get educated. Birch Gold will send you a free information kit on gold. Just text my name, Dinesh, to the number 989898. Consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. That way, if the Fed can't stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can take action for yourself. Text Dinesh to 989898. Let's move on to what's our next topic? Oh, yes. We want to talk about a topic close to your heart, which is the fact that in Texas, a conservative state.
Do you have the
yeah, I do.
The write-up on that?
A conservative state. You have halal food.
Oh, yes.
Which is essentially, let's call it Muslim kosher, right? It's approved Islamic meals.
That's right.
Are being offered in public schools across Texas. And when we heard about it, I mean, my instinct on these things initially is always somewhat soft, which is to say, okay, you got Muslim kids in these schools, they don't, they eat, quote, kosher food,
Mm-hmm.
and their needs have to be met in some way. But then what you said was, hey, what's next?
Yeah, no, what's next? Now, interestingly, I'm looking at the bill. It was Texas bill, House Bill 625.
Yeah.
Now, this paper does say that it was dead in June, so that it did not pass. However, I saw another write-up that it did pass, and it was going to take effect in September. So I have to figure out what's actually going on.
But
yeah.
you raised a hypothetical that got me thinking, and that was this. You said, hey, what if the Muslims go to the school board and say, as Muslims, we are commanded to pray 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids can't do that in the public school.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the public school needs to have a prayer room.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that won't really suffice, because Muslims don't just show up to pray and pray, quote, on their own Protestant style. Muslims pray in groups, and they often have a muezzin, or they have a Islamic figure who calls them to prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to have a Islamic prayer room in the school, we need to have the school needs to deputize a muezzin to make the call to prayer. And what you're getting at is, again, what did the schools do with these kinds of demands for special treatment?
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's nothing comparable on the Christian side.
No, and listen, IAH, our airport, has one. Did you know that? It has an Islamic prayer. Yes, it does. It has a chapel, an Islamic prayer chapel.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Texas is. I'm getting a little. Maybe next week when you have Robert Spencer on, you can ask him about the Islamization of Texas and other states.
This is Robert Spencer, who runs the group called Jihad Watch and pays careful attention to these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can only imagine that all of this is probably already going on full scale in places like Michigan.
Oh, yeah. No,
Minnesota,
Dearborn. Yes, Dearborn, Michigan.
Illinois.
Now, the interesting thing, Reform Austin says that Abbott claimed Sharia cities are prohibited in Texas. You know how that was going around. So he's made his stance.
He also says there that he's not going to allow any of these so-called no-go zones.
Yeah, he says, to be clear, Sharia law is not allowed in Texas, nor are Sharia cities, nor are no-go zones, which this project seems to imply. Bottom line, the project as proposed in the video is not allowed in Texas. Now, let's see if he caves on that or if he really does take a firm stand and we don't do it. We shall see. Now, these people have a lot of citizens in Texas, a lot. And, they are a voting bloc. So,
well, you notice that in the outskirts of Houston, we also know, partly through Brandon and Danielle, about the outskirts of Dallas.
mhm.
You've got a surprising proliferation of mosques, and you also have a surprising number of Muslims, sometimes radical, sometimes just Muslims, but running for all kinds of office, right?
Mhm.
School boards over here, and city council over there, and state rep over here. And I think what you're saying about it is that this is not the same as other immigrant groups.
Mm-mm.
Why is that?
Because they have one agenda and one agenda only. It's Muslim only. It's really, I used to think, because when I lived in Sugarland, as you know, I called it jokingly Sharia land, because we have a lot of Muslims there. And I used to say, well, okay, so this Muslim is Republican and this one is Democrat, and then I was like, you know what? No, they actually aren't Republican or Democrat. They only become whatever it is that helps their agenda. So if they get something out of this group, they will vote this way. If they get something out of that group, they vote that way. So they're not really, we can't really say that they are one or the other. They kind of go whichever helps my cause.
All of this, came to light in this very interesting case that we both followed, you more than me, the case of Washington versus Ali and Ali in Seattle. And the case is very simple.
Lacey Washington.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's an Iraqi family. The dad and mom are evidently quite devout. They did not want their daughter to have a boyfriend. Violating their wishes, she did, and she also ran away from home. She shows up at her school where her boyfriend goes to school, and basically the two parents chased her down. The mom sat in the car, or sat back. The father came out, grabbed the girl, and was choking her, seemingly with an intention to choke her to death. Her friends were unsuccessful in pulling him off. A local bus driver intervenes. Anyway, the dad and the mom were charged with attempted murder. Now, what's interesting is that in the trial, the Islamic background of all this seemed to be erased.
That's right.
It was removed from sight.
The judge would not allow it.
And it was treated as, quote, domestic violence.
That's right.
And so talk about that. Talk about how looking at a case, if you subtract the cultural context, you actually miss the point of what is going on.
Right. So these jurors basically saw a dad physically abusing his daughter.
Right.
But not almost killing his daughter, but rather just physically abusing her. They had no idea, because they weren't given any directives, that this dad had told her that he was going to kill her via honor killing if she did not comply with their wishes of marrying this man in Iraq, leaving her boyfriend, all of those things. They had no idea that this was even taking place. So all they saw, and there was a video that they were able to see, all they saw is a very agitated father that was very upset because his daughter ran away from home.
Yeah, and they're probably thinking, now let's pursue this. The jurors are probably thinking, well, listen, I would be super mad if my son or daughter took off and worried me to death and then showed up with the girlfriend or the boyfriend in school. I would want to go over there and choke him myself. And so the jurors probably thought this dad got a little bit carried away.
Right.
And of course, he was not trying to kill his own daughter. Be serious.
Right. Who would do that?
Who would do that? That's crazy. What he was trying to do is he got a little out of hand. And yes, he applied a little too much force. Happily, he was stopped. The girl is evidently okay. And so all we need to do is kind of get him on the lesser charge of, what was it?
Domestic violence.
Domestic
something
violence.
like that.
But the parents were acquitted on the more serious charge of attempted murder, even though you think that is exactly what they were attempting to do.
And if not there, surely elsewhere. Home, maybe.
That's important,
You know?
because normally
Yeah.
honor killings don't occur on a playground, right?
Right.
They normally occur, and in
Right.
fact, we depict this scene in
Yeah.
our film Infidel. One of the subplots involves an honor killing, and of course
Mm-hmm.
it occurs in a basement, because that's where these things probably normally happen, not in public view.
Yeah. I'm sure Robert will have statistics of honor killings in America. I'm sure he has all that.
Yeah.
You can go over that with him.
All right. Let's talk about this controversy right now with the runaway Texans. These runaway Texans their view is really simple. You need a quorum, which is a minimum number of people to hold a vote. The Republicans are the majority. They have the votes. This is a case where the moderate Republicans and the MAGA Republicans are on the same side.
Yeah.
Everyone,
For
or the
once.
majority, are on board with redistricting Texas, which will probably add as many as 5 more Republican seats. The Democrats are super mad. And the fact that, I think in the past when the Democrats did the running away, which they've done before.
Yeah. In 03.
Yeah. But now I see Hakeem Jeffries is rushing to their defense. They met with J.B.
Beto.
Pritzker. Beto is funding the effort through
As
one of
is
his PACs.
Crockett.
As is Crockett. And then Kathy Hochul is talking about it in
Yeah.
New York. And so it's become a national issue.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think that is?
Because the Dems, I think because they know that they're losing the country and they are doing everything and anything possible to not lose the country.
Right.
So, see, I think that if we just kind of let it play out, Democrats will stop losing will start losing elections, because people will realize, you know what? This is the party of the trans. This is the party of the illegal. This is the party of the criminal. This is the party of the criminally insane. People are just going to go, I don't want that.
Massachusetts just announced that if you're an illegal, you qualify for up to $30,000 in an ensemble of benefits. You get like a subway card. You get like food stamps, so EBT. You get a housing allowance. You get a healthcare allowance. And I'm thinking, this is the Democratic Party.
That's right.
I mean, by and large, even though Massachusetts may be seen as very left-wing, the truth of it is pretty much all the mainstream Democrats support this kind of policy. It may not be the same amount of money, but bringing illegals here and using taxpayer money to subsidize them, that is, you could almost call it the very first item on the Democratic platform.
That's right. Yeah, but when you look at it even further, they are the party of the criminal, because even the legal criminals get better treatment from them.
Right.
So
and not only that, they will fight harder to keep a Abrego Garcia here than they will fight to keep some agricultural worker who's being deported. In other words, you notice that even among the illegals, the more you are a gang member, the more dangerous you are, the harder, the more lawyers come to you to give you pro bono.
Yeah.
They'll represent you. I mean, think about it. Do you think people are being deported right now? I don't see that guy in Maryland, Senator Van Hollen, going down to Mexico to meet with some guy who worked in the agricultural fields in let's just say California and is now back in Mexico. He won't meet with him. But he did go and had a margarita with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Why?
Yeah.
Is it solely because one was a Maryland man?
That's a big mystery to me, because they would do better if they were actually the supporters of the people that are actually not high criminals, right?
I mean, yeah. See, if the Democrats were to say, listen, the illegal thing went too far.
Yeah.
We're actually glad that Trump has shut that down. And if they were to say, but there are people who have come to this country over the years. They have mixed in with the population. They've got jobs. They're productive. we are trying to at least ensure some due process for those people. They would have a case to make, but that is not what they stand for. In fact, that's not even their priority. So,
No.
and what you're saying is that, I think what you're saying is that when Republicans start playing by the same rules as Democrats, we win.
Well, okay, so some people are like, yeah, this isn't the same Democratic Party of the past. I beg to differ. They are the same, one and the same.
Yeah, this is an issue where, if people watched our movies, and what I've been doing recently on Twitter and all of my social media is reposting the links to watch Hillary's America, to watch America Imagine a World Without Her, because there is a kind of consistent narrative that runs through these films. The unifying theme is the meaning of America. But one of the unifying themes is that the story that so many people tell, the Democratic Party used to be just great, just fine, but the Democratic Party left me, I didn't leave it. This sing-song routine, which, by the way, even Reagan engaged in.
Reagan used it.
But when you know the roots of the Democratic Party, you realize these people were gangsters from the beginning.
The beginning.
And in fact, they might even have been worse in the 19th century.
Yeah.
Now, like any party, you've got better and worse people who are in it. It's kind of like saying that even the mob is going to get, this guy's a consigliere, he wasn't as bad as that guy.
Yeah.
Or in the Soviet Union, Andropov is bad, but he's not as bad as Lenin, and Lenin is not as bad as Stalin. But guess what? They're all communists.
All bad.
They're all part of that same criminal gang.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Tammany Hall, which I was not familiar with until the movie. I mean, they were ruthless.
Oh, and not only that, they were brazenly cheating in elections. You would come off the boat, and they would hand you like a bottle of vodka, and they would tell you, "Hey, listen, go see my friend Eddie down there on 3rd Street. He'll tell you where you can apply for a job as a loader. And by the way, we're going to come by later with a bunch of ballots for all your family. The ballots will already be filled out.
Yeah.
We're just going to take your thumbprint, or we're gonna sign for you. I mean, this stuff this is not new.
No.
The scale of it may be new. It might have reached a new height under COVID.
Yeah.
But Democrats have been doing shenanigans for a long time.
And, I saw a post the other day on Facebook. Somebody's like, oh, yeah, eugenics. These people are, and they were actually talking about eugenics as far as right-wing people, thinking that we believe in eugenics.
What were they referring to?
I was like, I don't even remember the post. I just remember seeing the eugenics part of it. And I was thinking, okay, first of all, the eugenics that happened under Margaret Sanger, who was a devoted Democrat.
Eugenics was a progressive cause.
Right.
And many of the leading figures. Now, by the way, there were some Republicans in the eugenics movement, but let's remember that in 1912, Teddy Roosevelt was a progressive. That's why he broke with the Republican Party and ran on the so-called Bull Moose ticket. His point was, I'm a progressive Republican. So it's not even a simple matter of party. It is that eugenics was seen as a cause of the future in which we eliminate all the so-called human weeds, to use Margaret Sanger's term.
And or the undesirables.
Right. And isn't it amazing that with a straight face today, you'll have Democrats and leftists act as if this has always been a conservative Republican cause. We're very disturbed to see the eugenic trends in the Republican Party. No. Even Planned Parenthood is deeply rooted in the eugenics movement, not just at once upon a time, now. So eugenics has lived on. One of the things we point out—
They disguise it as women's health.
Right. One of the things we showed in Death of a Nation was that eugenics changed its name after World War II, right? Because after World War II and everything that Hitler did, you couldn't call it eugenics.
No.
So the new name— population control. Population control was, remember, a progressive cause in the 60s and 70s, taken up by the left. And now it's women's health.
Yeah.
So benign names. In fact, even eugenics was a benign name when it was first coined. But of course, it was a benign name referring to a not very benign act. And the same
Evil.
applies.
Evil act.
A very evil act,
Very.
even today. All right, let's talk about the Epstein files and also the Russia collusion. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on with the House Oversight Committee. I think you pointed out to me that they're bringing in Bill Clinton, right?
The Clintons,
both
both
Clintons.
of them.
To testify on that. Now, in my view, and I said this very early on. In fact, I said this right in the big wave of Epstein hysteria. I said, look, not that I'm not curious about the full story on Epstein. I very much am. Nor do I believe Epstein killed himself. And there obviously is a list of Epstein patrons, right? But that all being said, let's keep our eye on the ball. And the ball is the attempt to frame Trump for Russia collusion. That's where the prosecutions lie. That's where the big snakes are to be found. And we don't want to miss that one.
So you think this is kind of a side show or like deflection or
the left would very much like to deflect back to Epstein.
Mhm.
Oh, Trump's name is in the files. They know that they're not claiming that Trump was a patron or that Trump went to Epstein Island. They're saying just that his name appears in the documents, which we actually know it does. I mean, I've seen the section where Virginia Giuffre talks about Trump, but not in a manner damaging to him at all. In fact, she says, no, Trump didn't do anything. But the left is nervous about the Russia collusion because they're being busted. And so their strategy now is they would like to change the topic away from it completely. But if they can't change the topic, they are now, in a sense, covering their tracks by saying, we never accused Trump of being a Russian asset. Think about this, as if we were born yesterday. They're like, we merely said that Russia tried to influence the result of the election. We're not even saying that they changed the outcome. We're just saying that they attempted to influence the result. By what? Buying a couple of Facebook ads? So this is so disingenuous. I think that we answer them by saying, listen, we don't need to debate you on this, right? We convene a grand jury. We bring indictments. It's all going to be fought out in court. And that way you can say whatever you want on CNN and MSNBC. But once you begin to see that there are charges, indictments, filings and cross-filings, testimony, we convene a jury, handcuffs, you're going to have to take this seriously. You're not going to be able to get out of it, and your serpentine rhetoric doesn't work on us the way it used to.
Yeah. And I'm wondering how much of that, those players also played a part in 2020, because I would love to see people prosecuted for that as well.
This is a great point. That is another huge Pandora's box, just waiting for the right people to open it. Now, I'm sure that Trump is getting competing recommendations. I know that he is very eager to get to the bottom of 2020. We have seen Trump up close on this topic. We know. But I also think that there are very powerful people around Trump who are saying to him, we know that you care about this, but it's in the rearview mirror. So we can't, what are we going to do? We're not going to somehow put you back in 2020 or 2021 in office. That water is under the bridge, as they say. So let's keep our eye on what's ahead of us. So he's going to be faced with competing advice.
Yeah, but
about
2016 is also in the rear view mirror. So, if we are vindicated on that, hey, let's get vindicated on 2020 as well.
I could not agree.
Right?
I could not agree more. In fact, 2020 is an even bigger deal than 2016 because think about it. The whole execrable Biden record came out of that. At least in 2016, Trump got into office. They stymied him. They tied him up for 2 years. He faced all kinds of unjust insinuations and accusations, but he still was the president. And by the way, he still managed to have a pretty successful economy. He did a lot of other good things. He got tax cuts until COVID. But But 2021 to 2025 were the kind of the nightmare years of America. In fact, worse than Obama, I think. When you look at the actual amount of persecution that was dealt out.
I'm wondering if that's Obama plus. You know?
It very well could be Obama plus, but what that means would be that Obama in his own time was hesitant to go that far. He went further with his surrogate, Biden, than he did himself.
Yeah, he was the new kid on the block, so he couldn't really...
And not only that, but he had the undertow of two very bad midterm elections. Remember, so when you're dealing with a hostile Congress, but see, Biden had the Congress.
That's right.
So they had the House and they had the Senate.
The damage was really great.
The damage was considerable. And so getting to the bottom of that, we can't undo. I mean, in some ways, that record is what it is, and we had to endure it. But discrediting the Biden regime, if you could show that that whole thing was illegitimate from the beginning and do it in a convincing way, and like you say, if necessary, litigate it and hold people accountable, that would be huge.
Amazing. Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment is right.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or watch on Rumble, YouTube, and SalemNow.com.